Ever wonder how schools decide what to teach? I mean, you might think it's as simple as picking textbooks, but
Right.
it's way more fascinating than that.
It is.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into data-driven curriculum design,
Ooh.
where student needs and societal demands, and even the structure of the subjects themselves all
Yeah.
come into play.
It's a really dynamic process.
It is.
And what's so interesting is that we're kind of moving away from simply relying on tradition or intuition
Right.
and moving towards a more systematic and evidence-based approach.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to be using excerpts from Developing the Curriculum,
Okay.
a book used in educator training.
Yeah. So think of this deep dive as getting a behind-the-scenes look
Okay.
at how these educational blueprints are made.
The book provides a framework for thinking about curriculum in a very comprehensive way.
Yeah, I was really surprised by how many different levels of needs they consider.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about what an individual student needs to learn.
Right. It's about the needs of the school, the community, the nation, even the entire human race.
It's like this intricate web of interconnected needs.
Yeah.
You have to consider the learner, the society they live in, and the subject matter itself.
Right.
And all of these elements influence what ends up being taught in the classroom.
Okay, so let's unpack this idea of needs.
Okay.
The source material breaks these down into different categories.
Yeah.
It's almost like this giant checklist for curriculum designers.
Right.
We've got student needs, societal needs,
Mm-hmm.
the needs of the subject matter itself.
Yep.
It seems pretty complex.
Yeah.
Where do we even begin?
Well, let's start with the student.
Okay.
We're talking about needs at multiple levels,
Okay.
starting with basic human needs like food, clothing, shelter, and health.
Right.
A curriculum can't be effective if it ignores these fundamental needs.
Yeah.
Then you expand outward
Okay.
to consider the needs of the individual student, the school, the community,
Mm-hmm.
and even the nation. For example, a school in a poverty-stricken area
Right.
might need to incorporate nutritional education
Right.
or even provide meals
Wow.
to address students' basic needs before they can effectively focus on academics.
That makes total sense.
Yeah,
It's like building a house.
right.
You need a solid foundation before you can start adding all the bells and whistles.
Exactly. And just
Uh,
like a house needs to be built to withstand the local climate,
Right.
a curriculum needs to be designed to meet the specific needs of the community it serves.
So give us an example of what a national need might look like in curriculum design.
Well, think about the rapid advancements in technology we've seen in recent years.
Yeah.
Preparing students for a technology-driven society
Uh-huh.
is a major need for any nation in the 21st century.
So that means like making sure students have the digital literacy skills they need to succeed
Absolutely.
in the workforce.
That can involve integrating coding into the curriculum,
Right.
teaching students how to think critically about the information they encounter online,
Uh-huh.
and even exploring the ethical considerations surrounding technology.
It sounds like staying ahead of the curve is essential,
Right,
especially in a world where technology is constantly changing the game.
right. And it's not just about keeping up with the latest gadgets.
Yeah.
It's about equipping students with the adaptable skills and mindsets
Right.
they'll need to thrive in a future that we can't even fully predict yet.
Okay, so now let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about societal needs.
Okay.
How do those play into the curriculum design process?
Just like student needs, societal needs operate on multiple levels,
Okay.
from the local community to the global stage.
Uh-huh.
We're talking about political needs, social needs, economic needs,
Mhm.
environmental needs, even defense needs.
Defense needs.
Yeah.
How does that fit into a school curriculum?
Think about it this way.
Okay.
A strong national defense often relies on a population
Okay.
that's well educated in STEM fields,
Okay.
science, technology, engineering, and math. So a curriculum that emphasizes STEM education
Mm-hmm.
could be seen as indirectly addressing a societal need for national security.
Wow. I'm starting to see how all of this connects.
It is, yeah.
It's like a ripple effect.
It is.
But with so many needs to consider,
Right.
from the individual student to the nation as a whole,
Yeah.
how do curriculum planners even begin to prioritize?
That's where the real art of curriculum design comes in.
Mm-hmm.
It's about striking a balance
Yeah.
between meeting those essential needs
Right.
while also considering what might be desirable but not crucial.
So how do they distinguish between a true need and just a want?
A need is something that's essential for a student to thrive
Okay.
and reach their full potential. It's something they can't do without,
Okay.
for example, ensuring that all students have access to basic literacy and numeracy skills.
Right.
is clearly a fundamental need.
Yes.
A want, on the other hand,
Okay.
might be desirable,
Yeah.
but not crucial.
Okay, so let's say a community wants its high school to offer a golf elective.
Okay.
That might be a nice addition,
Right.
but is it a need?
Probably not.
Okay.
While it could provide some benefits,
Yeah.
it's not essential for students' well-being or future success in the same way that,
Right.
say, strong reading and writing skills are.
So curriculum designers have to be pretty savvy at analyzing all of these needs
Absolutely.
and making tough choices about what to prioritize.
And it's not just about the students and society.
Right.
They also have to consider the unique characteristics of each subject matter.
I imagine that plays a huge role in how a curriculum is structured.
Definitely.
Yeah.
For example, math and languages often build upon previous knowledge.
Right.
So curriculum design in those areas
Uh-huh.
needs to follow a logical sequence.
Right. You can't teach calculus before algebra.
Exactly.
Right. So the very nature of the subject matter dictates how it should be taught.
Uh-huh.
But what about subjects that are less linear,
Okay.
like career education?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Career education might start by assessing student interests
Uh-huh.
and then branch out from there.
Okay.
It's more about exploring options and discovering passions.
Yeah.
The key is recognizing that different subjects
Okay.
lend themselves to different approaches in curriculum design.
It's like tailoring the learning journey to fit the destination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where data comes in.
Okay.
It helps us understand those different needs
Uh-huh.
and tailor the curriculum accordingly.
Okay, so we've got these three major pillars.
Yeah.
Student needs,
Yep.
societal needs,
Yeah.
and subject matter considerations.
Right.
And all of this is being analyzed and weighed to create a curriculum.
Right.
But how do we ensure that the curriculum is actually effective?
Yeah.
How do we know if it's achieving its goal?
That's where performance objectives
Mhm.
and standards come into play.
Okay.
They're measurable goals
Uh-huh.
that drive curriculum development and assessment. Think of them as the concrete targets that educators aim for.
Okay.
They often start with the phrase, students will be able to.
Okay.
You've probably seen these standards reflected in your own children's homework or school reports.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely seen those.
Yeah.
But isn't there some debate around this whole standards-based movement? I've heard some argue that it narrows the curriculum
Right.
and leads to too much emphasis on standardized testing.
That's right. There are definitely valid criticisms.
Yeah.
Some argue that a hyper-focus on standardized tests can limit opportunities for deeper learning
Right.
and stifle creativity in the classroom.
So it sounds like finding that balance is key.
Yeah.
We want to have clear goals and measures of progress, but we don't want to lose sight of the joy of learning and exploration.
It's a complex issue,
Yeah.
and it's an ongoing conversation in the field of education.
Right.
But ultimately, it's about using data responsibly
Uh-huh.
to guide curriculum decisions
Mhm.
and create a learning experience that benefits all students.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about all these different factors that go into creating a curriculum.
Right.
But how do we actually know what's working and what needs to be adjusted?
Yeah.
How do educators get the information they need to make these data-driven decisions?
That's where the needs assessment comes in.
Okay.
It's a systematic analysis of the current curriculum,
Mm-hmm.
and it's designed to pinpoint the areas that are working well
Okay.
and areas that need improvement.
Right.
It's an ongoing process
Okay.
of gathering data, analyzing results,
Mm-hmm.
and making adjustments along the way.
So it's like taking a pulse check on the curriculum.
Exactly.
You're constantly gathering feedback and using that information to make sure it's meeting those student and societal needs
Right.
you were talking about.
Yeah.
But let's get down to brass tacks.
Okay.
What does a needs assessment actually look like in practice?
Let's say you're on a curriculum team tasked with revamping the high school science curriculum. The first step might involve gathering student data,
Okay.
test scores, grades in science courses, and even enrollment trends.
Okay.
Are fewer students choosing to take advanced science classes?
Right.
That could be a sign that something needs to change.
Yeah, declining enrollment in those more challenging courses
Yeah.
could indicate that students aren't feeling supported or engaged.
Exactly. And that's just one piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
You'd also want to gather input from teachers.
Right.
After all, they're the ones on the front lines implementing the curriculum day in and day out.
So you might send out surveys asking teachers about their experiences teaching the current curriculum,
Right.
what's working, what's not, what resources they need.
You might even observe classrooms to see the curriculum in action
Oh, wow.
and get a better sense of how students are responding to it.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
It's about getting a 360-degree view of what's happening.
And we can't forget about the parents.
Right.
They have valuable insights into their children's learning experiences as well.
Absolutely. Parent surveys are a great way to understand how students are feeling about their science classes.
Okay.
Are they feeling challenged, supported, engaged?
Right.
Parent feedback can also shed light on whether the curriculum is aligning with the values and priorities of the community.
So we're gathering data from all these different sources.
Right.
Students, teachers, parents.
Yeah.
But it sounds like a lot of information to process.
It is.
How do you make sense of it all?
That's where data analysis comes in.
Okay.
You're looking for patterns and trends in the data.
Uh-huh.
For example, if you notice a consistent decline in student performance on a particular unit,
Right.
that's a red flag that something needs to be addressed.
Okay.
Or if teachers consistently report feeling unprepared to teach a certain topic,
Right.
that suggests a need for professional development in that area.
So you're not just collecting data for the sake of collecting data.
Right.
You're using it to identify specific areas where the curriculum can be improved.
And it's not just about finding problems. It's also about recognizing what's working well.
Okay.
If student surveys consistently show high levels of engagement in a particular activity,
Right.
or teachers rave about a certain teaching method,
Yeah.
those are valuable insights that can inform future curriculum decisions.
So you're building on those strengths
Right.
while also addressing the weaknesses.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that needs assessments aren't a one-time thing.
Okay.
They should be ongoing
Yeah.
because the needs of students and society are constantly evolving.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
We can't just create a curriculum and then assume it's going to be effective forever.
Right.
We need to be responsive to those changing needs.
Exactly.
So let's say the needs assessment has been completed,
Okay.
the data has been analyzed,
Uh-huh.
and the team has identified some key areas for improvement.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Right.
How does all of this translate into actual changes in the classroom?
That's where the rubber meets the road. The findings from the needs assessment become the blueprint for curriculum revision.
Okay.
Going back to our high school science curriculum example.
Okay.
If the data showed that students were struggling with a particular unit on genetics,
Okay.
the curriculum team might decide to redesign that unit.
So they might incorporate more hands-on activities or connect the content to real-world applications to make it more engaging and accessible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about thinking creatively about how to teach that content
Yeah.
in a way that resonates with students and meets their needs.
Right.
And sometimes it's not just about the content itself.
Okay.
Maybe the needs assessment revealed that teachers need more support
Uh-huh.
in implementing a certain teaching approach,
Okay.
like inquiry-based learning.
So professional development could be part of the solution as well.
Absolutely. It's about giving teachers the tools and training they need
Right.
to effectively deliver the curriculum and create those engaging learning experiences.
This is all making a lot of sense. But are there any potential pitfalls to be aware of when conducting these needs assessments?
Yeah.
I mean, is there a risk of getting it wrong or misinterpreting the data?
That's a great question. And you're right to point out that needs assessments, like any data-driven process, have their limitations.
Right.
One potential pitfall is relying too heavily on a single data source. Imagine evaluating a science curriculum solely based on standardized test scores.
You'd be missing out on so much valuable information.
Exactly.
Student engagement, critical thinking skills, their excitement about science.
It's like trying to understand a painting by only looking at one tiny brushstroke.
Right.
You need to step back and see the whole picture.
Yeah.
Another potential pitfall is failing to involve all stakeholders in the process.
So you're saying it's crucial to get input from students, teachers, parents,
Yes.
and even community members.
Yes.
To make sure all voices are heard and represented in the curriculum.
Absolutely. The more diverse perspectives you have,
Yeah.
the more well-rounded and effective your curriculum will be.
It's like creating a tapestry where each thread represents a different voice and experience.
Beautiful analogy.
So we've talked about gathering data, analyzing it,
Right.
and using it to revise the curriculum.
Yeah.
But what about the human element in all of this? How do curriculum teams ensure that they're not just crunching numbers,
Yeah.
but actually listening to the stories and experiences behind those numbers?
That's a critical point.
Yeah.
Data can tell us a lot, but it can't tell us everything.
Right.
We need to balance that quantitative data with qualitative data,
Okay.
conducting focus groups with students, having one-on-one conversations with teachers,
Right.
or hosting community forums
Yeah.
can provide those rich and nuanced insights
Right.
that wouldn't be captured in a survey or a spreadsheet.
So it's about putting a human face on the data.
Yes.
And making sure those individual voices are heard. That's what brings the curriculum to life and ensures that it's truly meeting the needs of the community it serves.
A well-designed needs assessment involves a multifaceted approach.
Okay.
You need to gather data from diverse sources, analyze it carefully,
Right.
and then use those findings to inform curriculum revisions in a way that's responsive to the needs of students, educators, and the community as a whole.
It sounds like a dynamic and collaborative process.
It is.
And it's an ongoing journey, right?
It is.
The curriculum should never really be considered finished.
That's right. It's a continuous cycle of improvement and adaptation.
This has been really eye-opening.
Good.
I'm seeing how data-driven decision-making can be such a powerful tool in education.
It is.
It's about moving beyond gut feelings and assumptions.
Right.
And using evidence to create a learning experience that truly empowers students.
It's about using data thoughtfully and strategically.
Right.
To create a curriculum that is relevant, engaging, and effective.
We've spent this deep dive exploring the nuts and bolts of data-driven curriculum design, from identifying those multi-layered needs,
right,
to digging into the nitty-gritty of conducting needs assessments. But now it's time to bring it all home.
Right.
How does all of this data analysis and curriculum revision actually play out in a real classroom?
Right.
How does it impact what teachers are doing day to day and what students are experiencing in their learning?
That's a great question.
Yeah. Can you paint a picture for us?
Okay. So imagine you're a student in a high school English class.
Okay.
In the past, your curriculum might have been dominated by classic literature. You know, the usual suspects, Shakespeare, Dickens, Austen.
Right.
You were expected to dissect these novels and plays, but maybe you struggled to connect with them.
Right.
Maybe you wondered how these centuries-old stories were relevant to your life or the world around you.
Yeah, I can relate to that feeling.
Yeah.
I remember slogging through some of those classics in high school and wondering what the point was.
Well, imagine that your school conducted a needs assessment. Okay. And the data revealed that many students shared your experience.
Interesting.
They were craving more contemporary works, books that spoke to their lived experiences, explored issues they cared about, or even used language that felt more familiar.
So instead of just sticking to the traditional literary canon, the curriculum might shift to include more modern voices.
Exactly.
Okay.
Data-driven decision-making allows educators to be more responsive to student needs and interests.
Yeah.
It acknowledges that a one-size-fits-all approach to curriculum doesn't work for every student or every community.
And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, the importance of distinguishing between needs and wants.
Yeah.
Just because a certain book has always been taught in a particular grade doesn't mean it's still meeting the needs of today's learners.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Data helps us challenge those long-held assumptions and make more informed decisions about what truly deserves a place in the curriculum.
And it's not just about changing the content. It's also about shifting teaching practices.
Exactly.
So how does data influence what's happening in the classroom beyond the textbooks and reading lists?
A data-driven approach often leads to more student-centered teaching practices.
Okay.
Think project-based learning, where students are actively engaged in solving real-world problems.
Okay.
Or using technology to personalize instruction so students can learn at their own pace.
I love that idea of using data to empower teachers to be more creative and innovative in their teaching. It's like data's giving them a flashlight to illuminate those pathways to deeper learning.
It's a powerful tool.
Yeah.
But remember, data provides valuable insights.
Okay.
But it's still up to those talented educators to interpret those insights and translate them into effective teaching practices.
So it's a partnership.
Yeah.
Data informs the decisions, but teachers bring the curriculum to life with their passion, expertise, and understanding of their students.
Exactly.
I'm really starting to see how data-driven curriculum design can lead to a more engaging and relevant learning experience.
Yeah.
But what about the impact beyond the classroom?
Okay.
How does this approach prepare students for the real world?
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
When a curriculum is aligned with the needs of society, it better equips students for the challenges and opportunities that they'll face outside of school.
So if we know that there's a growing need for graduates in STEM fields, The curriculum can be designed to spark interest and cultivate those skills early on.
Precisely.
Yeah.
By analyzing workforce trends and identifying those in-demand skills,
Right.
educators can design a curriculum that empowers students to succeed in a world that's changing at warp speed.
It's like giving them a compass to navigate that ever-evolving landscape.
Exactly.
This all makes so much sense. But I have to admit, I still have a little voice in the back of my mind whispering, what about the joy of learning? What about those moments of pure discovery and exploration? Will too much data squeeze the creativity out of the classroom?
I understand that concern.
Yeah.
It's important to remember that data should be a tool to inform our decisions.
Right.
Not a rigid set of rules that dictates every aspect of teaching and learning.
Yeah.
There's always room for teacher expertise, student voice, and those spontaneous moments of wonder that made learning so magical.
So it's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Using data as a guiding light.
Right.
But not letting it eclipse the human element of education.
Exactly. Data can help us create a more effective and relevant curriculum.
Right.
But it's the passion of those dedicated educators and the curiosity of those bright young minds that bring that curriculum to life.
This has been such an insightful deep dive.
It has.
We've explored the complexities of data-driven curriculum design, unpacked how it impacts classrooms and teaching practices, and even pondered its role in preparing students for the future.
It's been a fascinating journey.
Yeah.
Data can feel like such a dry topic.
Right.
But when you see how it can be used to create a more meaningful and impactful learning experience, it becomes truly inspiring.
Well said.
Thank you.
As we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I'm left with a sense of optimism and excitement about the future of education.
Me too.
Data can be such a powerful tool for positive change.
It can.
But it's up to all of us, educators, parents, policymakers, and community members, to ensure that it's used thoughtfully and ethically to benefit all learners.
We're all in this together.
Exactly.
And as we continue to learn more about how students learn and how we can best support them,
right,
the possibilities for creating truly transformative learning experiences are limitless.
So as you go about your day, we invite you to reflect on this question.
Okay.
How has data, whether you realized it or not, shaped your own educational journey? And how might data-driven decisions continue to shape the future of learning for generations to come?
Great questions.
Food for thought.
Indeed.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.